Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Door here, and I'm back with another review, and this time I'm reviewing Saw 5. This is a horror thriller film from 2008, directed by David Hackle, and it stars Tobin Bell, Costas Mandylor, Scott Patterson, Betsy Russell, Julie Benz, and Megan Good. In this film, Detective Hoffman is seemingly the last person alive to carry on the Jigsaw legacy, but when his secret is threatened, he must go on the hunt to eliminate all the loose ends. So, what did I think of Saw 5? Well, as you can see, it's a better color now. I really like this one actually. I'm I gave it the same rating I gave Saw 2, and I'll explain why, but I don't know if I like this more or less than Saw 2. Because Saw 2 did have its own issues, definitely. But I do legitimately enjoy this one. I think it found a very nice balance between the game plot, and the whole police thing and the whole thing of Jigsaw's apprentices, and I found it all really compelling. I I did. I found this film to be very entertaining. Let me get to the cast. Tobin Bell as John Kramer, Jigsaw, still knocks it out of the park. Costas Mandylor plays Mark Hoffman again. He's still really good. Uh, or he's still good. Sorry. Scott Patterson as Agent Strom. I'm still not huge on him. Um, but he's okay, I guess. Betsy Russell is Jill Tuck. She still does a good job in this film. I think her acting has gotten a bit better since the last film. It's a bit more. It, it it's a bit more consistent. So that's a good thing. Julie Benz plays Britt. She's one of the people in the newest games. She does a decent job. She has her moments where she doesn't inflect very well, but she's still fine. And Megan Good plays Luba, who is another person in the game. She's okay. But yeah, um, this film is a massive improvement on what Saw 3 and 4 did. Um, I feel like with this change of director, we have a whole new you know, insight. We have a whole new person that we can be like, excuse me. Okay, how well does he direct a Saw movie? And well, I think David Hackle does a really great job directing. I do. I think he made a very good looking film. It looks I think it looks better than the last two filmmaking wise. It there are definitely issues still there. There are some weird editing choices. No, wait. Oh my God, I almost said something about four. Okay. Four had the weird editing choices. Five. Um, there are definitely bits of usage of stock sound effects that I noticed, and I know that's very nitpicky because all of these films have stock sound effects in them. A lot of the impact sounds for the gore scenes or the death scenes are very not cartoonish, but they don't feel down to earth. They feel very over the top, and it kind of takes away from a lot of the shock factor of the gore. But I liked that this one wasn't as reliant on the gore as a lot of the others. Even though I didn't hate Saw 4, it did still seem pretty reliant on the gore factor. But at least most of the people in the trap seemed like they deserved it. Um, it still seemed very reliant on that as they didn't want to you know, they were hinging on the gore rather than the story. Saw 3, I don't know if gore is exactly what they were hinging on, but a lot of the traps it takes it takes at times like 5 minutes of screen time for just one trap to be done with, and it's just like, get it the fuck over with. Saw 3 was such a drag. Saw 4 fixed that to a point, and this film, I never got bored. I mean it. I never got bored. I found it very interesting, them trying to tie together the previous Saw films, explain some certain things from the previous ones that weren't. I mean, this whole time, ever since the second one, they've been trying to tie these films together, uh, and have like these new characters be involved in previous films. And I don't mind that. I know there's a lot of people that really don't like it. They don't like the kind of soap opera thing that it's doing. I can understand that, but I also think that like I don't know, it's kind of interesting. It's interesting seeing a horror series like Saw that is trying to improve itself. Like, there are people that think that, yeah, the series gets worse and worse up until final chapter, and then Jigsaw was a tiny bit better for some people. I remember not being a fan of it. There are people that think that Spiral's the best sequel or best film in the series, and I think they're insane. And now this new one has about the same rating on Letterboxd that the first one does. So I don't know what anybody's opinions on this shit are. I don't even know I don't know what to think anymore. But this film on Letterboxd has a 2.5 out of 5. I do 100% think it's better than 3 and 4 for sure. It's more focused. The trap plot isn't so hinged on gore at this point. Yes, there's plenty of blood and gore. Plenty. But it seems more hinged on, oh, these characters realizing what they're doing, like actually trying to get better in their lives and all that. And I really liked that. I think this film is trying to I feel like with this film they found their stride with the sequels because you had two, which was basically just doing what the first film did. I know there are people that will say, "Oh, two did its own thing." It kind of did and didn't. It added in more of the police side of things, which is probably the main reason people compare them to these movies to Seven or say they're Seven ripoffs, which they aren't. Um, Frickin' the third film relying too much on the traps and not enough on furthering on making the characters more fleshed out. Because the main issue I had with Saw 3 and the characters is, well, I mean, one, the actress that they picked for the wife was not the best actress. Um, and I didn't know much about her by the end. It felt like they wanted to focus more on Amanda. And that's why Saw 3 is a bit of a clusterfuck. They both want to focus on multiple people, but they also only want to focus on certain people more than others. And it gives you this like mishmash, like a mixed identity film that doesn't know what it wants to be or doesn't know what it's trying to be. And Saw 3 was just a rough watch. It is the worst film so far for me. A lot of people would say this one I'm reviewing now is the worst one so far, but I don't know what to tell you. I really enjoyed it. I remember not minding this film originally, but I actually do like it. But again, with the whole like finding their stride and finding a perfect through line, Saw 4, I really liked the stuff they did with Lyric Bent's plotline about learning to let go and listen to orders and all that, and listening to instructions, that whole thing, fighting his obsession. I liked that. I'm not crazy about the ending, but I wish it had focused more on that than the police procedural aspect in that film because almost nothing happens in the police procedural aspect. And the things that do happen are ridiculous that and ridiculous in a way that I can't get behind. I remember Saw 6 at least being ridiculous and me being able to get behind it because I I just enjoyed my time. But with this film, they found that perfect through line. There's basically three main plots in this film. There's this game that's happening that Hoffman started. There's a plot about Hoffman trying to set up Strom as the villain or as the follower of Jigsaw. And there's another one about basically Strom trying to find out what Hoffman is doing, or if Hoffman is connected to Jigsaw in some way. And I think this film, again, has a perfect amount of each story. Now, again, I'm not giving this a 10 out of 10 because, yes, there are issues. This film does use more CGI than it needs to, and the CGI is not that great at times. The last film did as well. It wasn't as noticeable as it is here in a couple spots. Um, there are some performances that aren't that great. In the main game, the performances from the British guy, the news guy, and Megan Good aren't amazing. Julie Benz has her moments of being all right, but for the most part, the acting in the main game isn't the best. The main players, Scott Patterson is the weakest one. Um, yeah, other than him, the film has all right acting for the most part. Um, but what am I trying to say? This film, David Hackle. I guess let's talk about David Hackle, the director. I have seen two of the films that he has directed. Other than this film, two of his five films he's directed. I've seen Daughter of the Wolf, starring Gina Carano and Richard Dreyfuss. I have seen Dangerous, starring Scott Eastwood, Mel Gibson, Famke Janssen, Tyrese Gibson. Um, and I remember enjoying both of those movies. I think David Hackle just knows what he's doing when it comes to pacing and when it comes to just in general directing. Um, Daughter of the Wolf was an interesting story, and I know it gets really low ratings from most places, but I remembered enjoying it. Um, but yeah, I'll have to check out his other films. He did a movie called Life on the Line with John Travolta and Into the Grizzly Maze. But yeah, I think he might just be one of those directors that I actually really like that people seem to not like. Because this is kind of an outlier or a black sheep in this series where people don't usually talk about Saw 5 or anything that happens in it. And I guess you could say, if you could say anything against it, or if I could say anything major against it, it doesn't really do a lot that's surprising. It doesn't take a lot of risks, but it also doesn't do a lot of the stupid shit that this series can do when it risks too much. And I mean, there's just not much to say. It overall, it's just a well-rounded, well-paced, well-executed horror film or thriller, whatever. This is more of a thriller than a horror film. Um, but they're still considered horror movies. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed my review of Saw 5. Sorry I didn't have a lot more to say. If y'all have seen the film, let me know what you thought down in the comments and movie review next door.